Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our part two of our Return to School series. We are doing Starting Strong Communication that Supports Your Child. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our presenters, Victoria and Sally. Hello, ladies.
Hi, thank you so much for having us today.
Hi, um, my name is Sally Beauchamp, and I'm the parent mentor for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I cover a lot of territory, a third of the state, so I do a lot of traveling, and I love meeting all the parents and the teams, the IEP teams sometimes. Um, I have a son, he's 29 years old, soon to be on August 13th, and he has a cognitive impairment and he has autism. So I've been in your spot, and now I learning all different things about being an adult with a disability. So I'm really looking forward to this meeting today with you all, and I hope you enjoy our presentation. Thanks for coming.
And I'm Victoria Martinez. Outside of work, I'm a wife and a mom with 3 kids and 2 fur babies. They keep my house pretty busy. But here at Michigan Alliance for Family, I serve as the assistant to our project director. My passion for this work comes from living the life and going through the journey as a parent myself. I experienced the system firsthand, and I kept feeling like there had to be a better way to support families like mine. I couldn't be the only one just starting this journey on my own. That's what led me to Michigan Alliance for Families. As a family liaison in a school, I was working to support parents who also came to me with issues that I saw in my own personal life. And then as a parent of a child with a disability, I decided to get more involved and step into some parent leadership roles across the state. And then soon after that, the position for the regional parent mentor opened up in my area, which brought me to where I am today. And that journey really grounds everything that I do. And I'm always glad to connect and share resources with families who could use that support. So the start of the new school year can bring many feelings. It can feel exciting, but it can also feel a little stressful or unsure, especially if your child receives special education supports and services or is even starting somewhere new. And one thing that can really help is good communication. When team members talk clearly and kindly, it can lower stress, it can build trust, and it can help everyone work together for the child. Today, we're going to share some simple ideas you can use right away, and these will help you talk to with teachers, principals, other school staff. But remember that you're an important part of your child's team and your voice matters.
We also invite you to think about your own experiences. When has communication gone well? When has it been hard? Even small changes in how we communicate can make a big difference for students. In this session, we will share examples, tips, and time to practice. We will focus on working together with respect, listening, and keeping the focus on your child.
And you don't have to be an expert to speak up for your child. Communication is something we can all learn and get better at. Our goal is for you to leave feeling confident, ready, and supported as you start the school year.
So let's start with the question at the heart of all of this. Why does communication matter so much? A big reason is that it helps support your child's success. When everyone understands what's expected, it's easier to work together.
It also helps build trust. When communication is open, it makes it easier to have honest conversations, even when the topics are hard.
And it can prevent misunderstandings. When information is clear and shared regularly, there's less confusion or frustration.
Another important piece is thinking of communication as a partnership.
Right. It's not just one person's responsibility. It works best when families and team members check in, share updates, and stay connected.
And when that partnership is strong, it makes a big difference for everyone, especially your child. And that partnership rests on the relationships we build. So let's look at how to build
Okay, strong
strong ones.
relationships are really Strong relationships are really the foundation of everything we talk about today. At Michigan Alliance for Families, we often remind parents that partnerships on your child's team doesn't just happen. They take time, energy, and intention. A good first step is starting with connection. Introduce yourself. Share what your child loves, what motivates them, and what you're hoping for this year. When the team knows your child as a whole person, not just a file, the conversation changes. Sometimes we see relationships break down. We are going to do some role play today. I will be the teacher, and Victoria will be the parent. Have you ever been in a conversation like this with a staff member as a parent? I wanted to let you know that I've been having difficulty with Alexa during recorder lessons. Because of her behaviors, I think it would be better if Alexa worked elsewhere during music. Honestly, learning the recorder isn't really something our special education students need.
Excuse me? So because my child has Down syndrome, you're saying they don't deserve to be in music?
That's not what I said.
It sure sounds like it. This happens all the time in this school. Every year, someone decides my child shouldn't get the same opportunities as everyone else, and I'm not the only parent that feels this way.
I'm just trying to make the class work for everyone.
Well, maybe if you knew how to teach students with disabilities, this wouldn't be a problem. Why can't you just give Alexa something else to do in music so that she isn't missing that social interaction with her peers? You know why? Because you're lazy and you don't want to take the time to figure out how to teach my kid.
I'm doing the best I can.
Well, clearly not. The IEP is supposed to protect my child's rights, and instead you're trying to remove them because it's easier for you.
I don't like what you're accusing me of. I spend many hours working on lesson plans to engage my students. You calling me lazy is simply not true. And I've tried to work with your daughter, but she doesn't like to be told no.
Whatever. I'll just call the principal and the special ed director because that is the only way things get it done around here, apparently.
Fine, you do that. I think we should end the meeting now. Let's try it again. Try to assume good intentions most of the time. Everyone at the table genuinely wants your child to succeed. Leading with that mindset helps keep the focus on solutions rather than blame, even when you disagree.
So we're going to try that
Okay.
conversation again with assuming that positive intent.
I've been having difficulty with Alexa during recorder lessons. The behaviors have been disruptive, and I think it would be better if Alexa worked elsewhere during music. Learning the recorder isn't necessary for some of our special education students.
I appreciate your concern, and I'm sure you're trying to make the class a success for all students, but I would really like to work with you on making music class a class that Alexa can do well in. It's more important to me that Alexa gets interaction with her typical peers than mastering the recorder. As you see it, what makes learning the recorder difficult for Alexa?
Well, when Alexa gets frustrated, she'll start walking around the classroom, getting into things while I'm trying to keep the class engaged.
Thanks for explaining that. Instead of removing her from music, could we explore accommodations and supports that might help keep her on task? I could even help at home with working with her on the recorder. Maybe some visual supports would help in class. We use those a lot at home to help keep her focused and help keep her frustration levels low. Maybe even shorter practice sessions or an adapted part, or even another way to participate altogether. If I ask for a meeting so the team can discuss other ideas, would you be okay with that?
I'd be willing to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate your willingness to work together. Hopefully, we can figure out the supports Alexa needs to participate before considering removing her from the class. Okay, so can you all hear how that was different? Both parents are concerned. The difference was how the concern was communicated. A parent can always say, I'm worried. I need more information. I would like a plan in place. I want to understand what supports are currently in place. But a helpful shift is moving from why is the school doing this to my child to what is my child communicating through this behavior and what supports can help. And also from I'll call someone else above you to let's bring in the rest of the team for better communication and problem solving.
In addition to starting with connection and assuming good intentions, you should stay connected year round, not just when something is wrong. A quick thank you email, a positive note, or a check in during a calm stretch builds trust that you can lean on later when challenges come up. And when things do get hard, and they will, don't be afraid to repair. Saying something like, "Can we try that conversation again?" or "Help me understand where you're coming from," can go a long way. Strong relationships aren't the ones without conflict, they're the ones that come back together after it.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is that communication doesn't look the same for everyone.
Right. And some people may need more time to respond. Use tools to communicate or just express themselves in different ways.
Yeah, and all of that is part of effective communication. It doesn't mean that something is wrong.
Another thing that is nonverbal cues can be can be easy to misunderstand. If someone seems quiet, we might think they're not paying attention, when really they might be listening very closely, and that's just their style.
So instead of guessing, it's better to stay curious, ask questions if you're unsure. That always helps everyone feel respected and understood.
Spoken and nonverbal cues are only part of the picture. Written and digital messages bring their own challenges.
Absolutely. One thing to keep in mind is that written and digital communication don't always give us the full picture.
Right. Like with emails or notes, we can go back and read them, but we don't always know the tone behind the message. And with digital tools like apps or text messages can come from different people and at different times. So sometimes the information feels a little disconnected or unclear.
When that happens, it's easy to feel confused or even frustrated. So instead of trying to figure it out on our own, we can pause and check for clarity. We're going to look at an example now of how this can show up. So we're going to do another role play.
Okay. Hi. I just wanted to let you know that with field day coming up, if it feels overwhelming, Serena is welcome to stay home that day.
Wait, what? First, I see a message about field day, and now I'm being told my child should stay home. This is really confusing. Why wasn't this explained earlier? I feel like I'm getting mixed messages all the time.
Let's pause right here, there.
If you were a parent in this situation, what might be a more helpful way to respond? You can answer when we get the poll pulled up here briefly. Would it be A, keep your child home based on the message? B, respond with frustration about the mixed communication? C, reach out to ask for clear information about the plan and supports? Or D, ignore the message and just send your child anyway? You'll have about a minute to go ahead and answer, and then we'll get right to it.
Okay. It's completely understandable to feel frustrated in this situation, but the most helpful next step is C, reaching out for clear information.
Yeah, and it was clear by the poll that you all felt and agreed with that. So that can sound like I'm a little confused. Can you help me understand the plan for field day or what supports might be available to my child?
That keeps the focus on getting clear information so everyone can work together and support your child. Since so much of this ends up in writing, let's talk about how to put things in writing well. One phrase we use a lot at Michigan Alliance for Families is, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Hallway conversations and phone calls matter, but written communication is what creates a record you can come back to later. After an important conversation, oh, sorry. You should always send a confirmation email or text, just saying, I just want to make sure I understood, or here's what I heard us agree to. That simple step turns a verbal agreement into a shared documentation. When you write, be clear and specific. Start by including your purpose. Be sure to also include your child's name and the date, and stick to facts you can point to. Things like evaluations, IEP goals, progress reports. Keep the tone respectful, even when you're frustrated. The reader will focus more on the message when the tone supports it. Save everything in one place. We suggest to keep an IEP binder or a digital folder with those evaluations, IEPs, progress reports, meeting notes, and copies of every email. When you need information quickly before a meeting or during a dispute at transition time, you'll be glad it's organized. And one more tip: pause before you send. If a message feels emotional, save it as a draft and look at it again the next morning. A calm, clear email almost always lands better than one written in the heat of the moment, and it protects the relationship you're working so hard to build. Putting things in writing is one part of strong communication. Listening well is another.
So now we're going to take a look at a few simple ways to become better listeners when working within a team. First, being fully present means giving someone your full attention. Make sure you put down distractions and really listen. This helps you catch those important details and shows that you care. Next, respectful interaction means letting people finish speaking without interrupting. And when we do this, we show respect and help keep the conversation calm and positive. We also want to use clarification and reflection. This means asking questions if something is unclear and repeating it back when to clarify what we heard. For example, you might say, "What I hear you saying is," this makes sure everyone understands each other and it builds trust. Finally, listening for understanding means trying to understand the other person's perspective before responding. When people feel heard, they're more likely to stay calm and work together.
Even with strong listening skills, a few common barriers can still get in the way.
Absolutely. Even when teams want to work together, there can be challenges sometimes that make communication harder. One of those challenges is time. Everyone has busy schedules, whether it's work, school, other responsibilities. So it can be hard to find time to connect. Sometimes this means messages get missed or conversations sometimes feel rushed. Another challenge can be language and cultural differences. Families might speak different languages or have different ways of sharing that information. This can sometimes lead to confusion, even when everyone has good intentions. There are more barriers, but let's take a look at another scenario that happens often in schools before we get to the others.
Okay, I'm teacher again. I wanted to talk with you about some concerns we are having with Jordan. As you know, Jordan has recently had some aggressive behaviors towards staff and his peers. He hit the parapro yesterday, and the day before, he knocked down another student.
And just as a reminder, I'm the parent. Yes, I got your note, but I was busy. What I want to know is what the other student was doing that caused my son to push them down. Are you following up with that student? According to Jordan, the student he pushed was trying to step on his toes, and the parapro was not allowing him to take his break, which is in his IEP. The only person I see getting blamed for it, though, is Jordan. My child is not dangerous, and I can't believe you're blaming him for all of this.
I'm not blaming him. I just wanted to talk to you about what we are seeing. Is there something going on at home that could be triggering these behaviors?
Wait, now you're putting the blame on his home life? Let me tell you something. Jordan has a very good home life, and his father and I try our hardest to be good parents. I don't appreciate my parenting skills being blamed for Jordan's outbursts. He has autism. Autism comes with all kinds of behaviors. Maybe if the school understood him better and everyone followed what's in his IEP, this wouldn't happen. You can't just punish him because he has autism.
We understand that his disability affects his behavior, and we want to find ways to help.
It sounds like you just want him removed from the class because he's difficult.
That's not what we want. We want to make sure everyone is safe.
I don't think you're listening to me. Every time there's a problem, the school makes it sound like my child is the problem.
I'm sorry you feel that way. How about I set up a team meeting to discuss these issues? Maybe all of us together can figure out what should be our next steps.
Yeah, by that you mean kicking him out of school?
Not at all. We all want what's best for Jordan.
Yeah, right. You try kicking my kid out of the school, and I'm gonna get a lawyer and sue.
Let's be honest. Conversation about our child and their needs and special education meetings are emotional because they are about our heart and soul, our kids. When discussions get tough, it's easy to feel attacked or to bring past frustrations and worry into the room. But if we come in on the defensive or the attack, the collaboration stops. We have to remember that the school and the family are on the same team. To get what our kids need, we have to acknowledge our emotions, take a breath, and focus our energy on the facts and our child's specific goals.
So let's try that conversation again.
I wanted to talk with you about some concerns we are having with Jordan. As you know, Jordan has recently had some aggressive behaviors towards staff and his peers. He hit his parapro yesterday, and the day before, he knocked down another student.
Thanks for letting me know. His behavior is sometimes very difficult to handle for everyone involved. I'm worried too. I don't want his peers to be afraid of him. I want to understand what's happening.
Well, usually when Jordan becomes frustrated or overwhelmed, his behavior tends to become more aggressive. Did you talk to Jordan about the incidents? What did he say happened?
Yeah, I talked to him about it. He said the parapro wouldn't allow him to take his break when he showed him the break card, and the student he had pushed was trying to step on his toes.
Well, the student who he pushed did admit he had stepped on Jordan's toes, but it was on accident. They were standing in line and the student backed up and stepped on Jordan's toes, and that's when Jordan pushed them. The parapro said Jordan didn't want to finish his assignments, so he told him he had to finish before using his break card, and that's when he hit him.
So it's my understanding that the whole point of the break card is to stop Jordan from escalating to aggressive behaviors. I feel the parapro should have given him the break when he asked for it. There isn't supposed to be conditions put on it. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, you understand that correctly, but striking a staff member or anyone for that matter is not acceptable.
Well, I guess I need to know what happens before the behavior occurs. Is there a way we can track what triggers his aggressive behavior so we can know what supports he needs in those moments?
Well, if we notice his behaviors will sometimes escalate during transitions or when a task feels difficult.
That makes sense. Since he has an IEP, can we look at his current supports and talk about whether there are additional strategies we can consider? I want to make sure we're addressing the reasons behind his behaviors and not just reacting to them when they happen.
Okay, do you see the difference between the two scenarios? In the first scenario, the parent was placing blame on the child from the teacher, like the teacher was blaming the kid for their behavior and kicking him out. The second scenario, the emotional response and blame is removed. It becomes more collaborative and addresses Jordan's needs to support proactively and not just react to the behavior being experienced.
So finally, we're going to talk about school languages and processes and how they can feel sometimes confusing. School staff might use words or systems that are not always clear, and it's always okay to ask if something doesn't make sense to you. The good news is that by recognizing these challenges, we can work together as a team to improve communication and build stronger partnerships. We're going to launch another poll to ask another question, and we want you to take a moment and think about which option you'd realistically choose, not the one that sounds the best.
Okay, so you're in a meeting and you start to feel overwhelmed and worried about your child. It's getting hard to focus on what the team is saying. What do you do? A, stay quiet and try to push through the meeting, even though you are not understanding everything. B, interrupt the speaker and say, "This is too much and you're not listening to me." C, ask for a short break or let the team know you are feeling overwhelmed. Or D, leave the meeting without saying anything. So now you can fill in your poll. Okay. Yay. Most people pick C. That's correct. You can always ask for a break. And I know sometimes parents don't know this when I tell them that, but when emotions are high, it's okay to pause. You can say something like, "I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I need to take a short break." This helps you regroup so you can stay involved and understand the information.
Yeah, and you can also plan ahead for situations like this. Bringing a support person with you or asking for written notes or a summary after the meeting can really help you feel more confident and supported. The other options are definitely common, but they don't help as much. If you're staying quiet, this can mean that you're missing important information. Reacting out of frustration can make communication harder instead of better with your team, and then leaving without any explanation can delay important decisions or mean that you weren't part of those decisions that are being made. This is always a good reminder that your feelings matter, and it's always okay to ask for what you need. Once we can recognize those barriers, we can turn the message to the message itself and how clearly we say things.
How we say something is just as important as what we say. Even a message with the best intentions can land the wrong way if the tone or timing is off. A few simple practices can make a big difference. First, be clear and kind. Use I statements and stick to specific examples instead of general frustrations.
That's a good one. And it helps to take a moment to imagine how you might receive the message if it was you on the other end. The person reading it or hearing it doesn't have all the context that you have. So making sure you do a quick reread and putting yourself on the receiving end of it can help you catch anything that might come across more sharply than you might have intended it to. And when something feels really big, like we had said before, sleep on it. Write the email, save it as a draft, and come back to it in the morning.
You'll almost always send a stronger, calmer version. And if you'd like to go deeper on listening to understand, a helpful resource is a book called Listening Well: The Art of Empathetic Understanding by William R. Miller.
That book helps us remember that listening isn't just a two-part interaction. It doesn't just involve speaking and hearing words. It's also about understanding feelings behind those spoken words.
When people feel heard, it can make a big difference in building strong relationships.
Yes, and using those skills help us create more positive, respectful, and trusting partnerships. There's also one newer tool that can help us put these skills into practice as long as we use it carefully. I'm talking about something that more and more families are starting to use, artificial intelligence or AI tools. You might have heard of tools like ChatGPT, Apple Intelligence, or Gemini. These tools can be really helpful when you're getting ready to communicate with the other members of your child's team.
Okay, for example, you could ask an AI tool to help you organize your concerns into a clear list before a meeting, or to help you come up with questions to ask about your child's reading goals or services. Think of it as a preparation tool, a way to feel more ready and confident.
Yeah, AI can also help with translation. If English isn't your first language, AI can translate short messages or phrases. But we do want to mention that it's always a good idea to check the translation with someone who you trust who speaks the language, just to make sure the meaning is accurate.
Now, there are also some important things to watch out for. AI makes mistakes, including about special education law and procedures. The Individuals with Disability Act IDEA is a federal law throughout the country. States can do more than what is required in the federal law, but can never do less. Because it can vary by state, you should always check with our Michigan Alliance for Families website or your parent mentor to make sure that what AI is telling you is correct for Michigan. Our information is vetted and accurate. We are here for you. AI can sometimes suggest steps that might make a situation worse or use language that sounds formal but could come across as threatening. It doesn't know your child, your school team, or your specific situation.
And another big one is privacy. When you type information into an AI tool, that information might be stored. So never share your child's name, the school name, or other personal details. Use general language to keep your family's information safe.
Before you act on anything AI suggests, pause and ask yourself, will this help us solve the problem or make it bigger? Is there a more collaborative step to try first? AI can be a great starting point, but always review and adjust based on what you know about your child and your team.
One more thing that we really want to highlight is to keep your authentic voice. AI can help you draft a message or polish a message, but your words should be at the heart of the message. Your team should know that it's still you. They know what you sound like. A good test is to read your draft out loud before sending. If it doesn't sound like something you actually say, change it.
That's such an important point. Your team knows your voice, and when a message suddenly feels overly formal or generic, it can come across as less personal. Remember, you are the expert on your child. AI is just a tool to help you share that expertise more clearly and confidently. It shouldn't replace your perspective or your story.
And if you'd like to learn more, the Center for Appropriate Dispute Resolution in Special Education, or CADRE, has a great free guide on this topic. It's called A Parent's Guide to Using AI for Advocacy in Special Education. And just as a reminder, we put together a handout with our tips from today with the resources for the book and Cadre, and we'll share that link in the chat again. But before we wrap up, let's take a look back at what we'll hope you'll carry with you. Everything we talked about today comes down to relationships. When you build strong, trusting relationships with your child's teams of members, you create a foundation that holds up even when things get hard. And those positive connections aren't just nice to have. They are what will help you work through all of the challenges together instead of feeling like you're on opposite sides of your child's team.
Right. Strong relationships are also what make problem solving and communication easier. When there's trust, it's simpler to ask questions, share concerns, and find solutions of blame, and keeping the focus on solutions. Remember, you and the other team members share the same goal, your child's success. Leading with that keeps conversations productive, even when you disagree. Finally, stay connected and keep moving forward together, especially during the difficult moments. Disagreements will happen, believe me, but a simple let's try again or help me understand can keep the relationship moving in the right direction.
And if you don't have a strong relationship with your child's school right now, please know that there are always tools to support you. At Michigan Alliance for Families, we host learning opportunities in partnership with Special Education Mediation Services, or SEMS, that you're welcome to join. For instance, we have collaborative communication in special education, and another one is how to build trusting relationships. These are great next steps if you'd like to keep building the skills we talked about today. SEMS also offers free facilitation and mediation to help families and schools work through disagreements together.
If you take just these 5 things with you, you'll be well on your way to a strong, supportive partnership this school year. Thanks for joining us today. We hope this was great information to help you communicate as a member of our team, of your team, I'm sorry.
I just want to say too, remember that, like we said, difficult conversations are going to happen. You can get frustrated. We're all human. The repair after the frustration is what will matter the most in keeping your team together and collaborative.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I appreciate your time and thank all of you so much for joining us this afternoon.